What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Sane, Arwin, who else we got? Travis and 10th Man, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from any truck stop.
Not from any truck stop.
And not from any
right.
truck moving either. Curve moves with you. Because it's not curve. It's optics.
Well, that's very concise.
See.
Thank you very much. Any signs of axial rotation in that case?
Not from any truck stop.
Go on, despite everything.
No.
Well, the pump must be
Only in
spinning.
the hands when you take a motor.
Only what?
You can have axial rotation only in hands when you take a motor.
Fair enough. Not of the Earth-based variety then. So we're not spinning, and there's no Earth curve. Earth is flat, people. We're definitely not spinning. What about any evidence of gas pressure existing without the necessary antecedent of a container? For all the fundies who think the sky is a vacuum, for that ball we're not on, not spinning to fly through?
According to my son, it just stopped.
Gradient. Gradient to the top of the container. But they like to...
That's your claim.
think
You need
hard.
to show container.
No. We need to define pressure. What's pressure?
I'm joking.
It's a necessary
Okay.
antecedent consequent relationship. So in order to have the gas pressure, which would be the force a gas exerts on the walls of its container, you're going to need a container for it to press on. So without the container, there can be no pressure.
I don't think people know what antecedent means.
I'm conceding that it's no vacuum. Now you need to show container.
Antecedent is a necessary requirement in order to have the following or preceding thing.
If I'd never heard of it, I'd think it might be a potential cure to the flu or something.
That's
one of
an
those, like-
antihistamine.
One of those tasty balls that, you know, you really liked when you were a kid that were kind of... Oh, that's aniseed, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, no Earth curve, no spinning, no sky vacuum. Why do people think this again? Oh yeah, it's that philosophical religious worldview that's been punted into the entire Western world like it's real. There's no Earth curve, we're not spinning, we're not in a vacuum.
What do they have, actually?
A presupposition.
A model.
Any evidence of the R value? The fundamentalist religious zealot presupposition that we have a radius to their presupposition that we're standing on a sphere despite the fact we have no Earth curve and we're not spinning and we're not in a vacuum. R value.
No, they don't even have that, Nathan.
Yeah, I know. They used to have the presupposition to fall back on, ladies and gentlemen, but we robbed them of that with this argument called the Black Swan. Now they don't even have the fundamentalist zealotry presupposition of the R value. That's dead also.
Well, they're never
Now,
even
we
going to
ain't
get to an R at this point, are they? They're never going to get to it because they don't even have a geometrical horizon that's visible. So they're never even going to get to R at this point.
Well, now we've done with the ones that destroyed the globe. Oh, go on, whoever it was in Discord.
I was saying, I don't think we robbed them, Nathan. I just think we exposed them.
Absolutely. But exposing the fundamentals to why we're not on a sphere still leaves a few things loose ends. Some of them get more jokey as you go along, but sticking with the tail end of the serious questions, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of, drumroll, astronomy, drumroll, cosmology, another drumroll, or astrophysics?
No, I've checked Dr. Becky's channel and still no viable scientific hypothesis in her latest shows.
No, they never will
It's
either.
wondrous.
Wondrous, my ass. Science is empirical. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? We're obviously into the more ludicrous of the presuppositional R-value based now debunked arguments or presuppositions that they may have if you're on a sphere.
Well, if there's no R and the globe is debunked, then there's none of that either.
No, I know. It's all nonsense. About gravity.
You know what? If we want to get really, really ridiculous about molten iron core, okay, if it's supposedly a hot thing that loses heat because of entropy, right, over the ages, then how could have life originally evolved from nothing in a time period where the molten iron core must have been a lot hotter than it is now because it is always cooling off, because that's natural law in a lot of presuppositions. But like, how can that work? If the life conditions were not optimal for life to even start to evolve itself, then how could it have ever happened? Oh, wait. Of course.
You forgot the glancing blow story.
Exactly. It's actually the other way around. It's too cold for the short span that they've got, whatever, 60 million years. That's too... In that period, based on the time period they give for the formation of the solar system, it should have already cooled down. But because of that mathematics, they've then introduced just so story about Theia smashing into it, depositing its iron core, the debris forming the moon. All that bullshit is because it should be too cold, not too hot. So yeah, way back when it first formed, in their bullshit story of gravitational accretion, you've got the core, but we haven't got any life at all to worry about justifying why it would be surviving with it too hot. But by the time you get to us, in their time frame, it should have cooled down already. There shouldn't be a core. Hence the Theia story.
Right. So, yeah, it's even worse than I thought.
Yeah. I mean, who cares? The mathematical nonsense of a molten iron core keeping us nice and toasty from the centre out like a giant revel is irrelevant. It's total nonsense, and there's no justifiable reason to give that just so story. You know, it's just part of the mathematics. And when the mathematics don't work, they just introduce some new just so story. Like I say, some planet smashing into a planet that we're not, to give us an extra big juicy molten iron core. And the moon.
Shouldn't there be some kind of greater remnants of Athea? No, sorry, I'm just rolling this too far now.
Shout out to Al Junkie. He says NO and QE plus panel are ace. Rumpus equals a jackass. Yeah, it's surplus to requirements now, but I'm sure he's appreciative of the mention, Al Junkie. Thank you very much indeed for the support. As I say, descending into the farcical nature of the questions that follow the death of the globe, what with it having no curvature, no axial rotation, and us not existing in a vacuum, any scientific evidence of gravity?
No, there's really only a very vague description about it, with no more ties into provable physical reality anymore, really. It's just a story about something, and they don't even really properly explain how it's supposed to tie into reality. You just got to think about the imagination of the planets out there and the gravity wells, and keep it in your mind. Don't try to make it real.
Well, you can't have the masses of people think it's a force holding things to the ground and at the same time say it's not a force. It's literally not a force. But if you want, you can think of it as a force. Now, we got the R wrong. We got the molten iron core wrong. We don't even know how to do a scientific method on this, so we do it by the seat of the pants. But just take our word for it. It's gravity. Magical.
Wait, 10th man, you started out saying the masses of people?
Yeah, multitudes.
Oh, okay.
Multitudes, not masses, now require definition.
Sorry, it's just we were talking about gravity, right?
We were. I've been requested by Sleeping Warrior to actually paraphrase the question to any scientific evidence of the reification fallacy that is gravity. It is, after all, a mathematical construct, conceptual pseudo-Ramonian force space, being translated into our real world. Therefore, the definition of a reification fallacy.
Yeah, just a side note. Just a side note for Arwen.
Sorry.
No, I said just a side note, Arwen. It didn't sound right if I said the mole of people.
Ta-da. Nice. No, but I do like the reification fallacy, although it's really more about the Einsteinian concept. That's really a pure reification fallacy. You know, the preponderance in the idea of Newton, which is officially no longer involved, but still thought to be, then it becomes a little bit more weird. But a reification fallacy for the official gravity, yeah, that's a pretty good one. Although I prefer aberration myself.
Aberration, reification fallacy, horses for courses, right?
Yep. But yeah, kudos to Tony for finding that.
When he said it to me, I was like, well, duh. But then again, it's not about recognizing it for being a reification fallacy. It's about airing it, right? So he's saying, no. It doesn't matter that you understand implicitly that it's a reification fallacy. Other people don't, and it really triggers them when you point it out. And I was like, oh, really? That's got me a bit more interested. And yeah, he gave me an example, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why they'd be so triggered at pointing out that it's a reification fallacy. It seems obvious, but I'm more than happy to point it out and actually air it and actually say it, which is Tony's point. You know, yeah, it's all well and good knowing that it's a reification fallacy. If you're not actually saying it, you need to. So I'm like, yeah, I agree, you do. People need to realise that they're just reifying some mathematics into a force that's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Well, the thinking about it being a force is the definition of a reification fallacy. You thinking about it as a force when it's not a force, it only exists in maths. Yeah, reification fallacy. Don't have to like it.
I guess that when you call it
really is level, man.
Exactly. They're telling you don't have to work at the really is level. What, reality level? Yeah, you can just reify it into existence. They're telling you. Even Moose is telling you.
But I think they probably don't like the word reification fallacy because it is just such a cold, blatantly hard error. Like, it's wrong. Well, if you call it an aberration, you know, or you say, oh, it's not proven, then there's still like this more mystical element to it that they can still like, yeah, but it's still sort of there, right? But if you just call it reification fallacy, it's just a big marker error. So yeah, I can understand why ballers don't like it when we call it that.
Well, it's interesting. They can't show us their R, but reification starts with R.
And Al Junkie adds to that, 10th man. Glober Street Activism. Quote, Radius lives matter! Winky face. Right, last but by no means least. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for the distance to the sun.
Perfect. That concludes the housekeeping then, if no one else has got anything to add on it. Are you with us, Chemo?
Oh, sorry, did I miss the last question?
It's over there. It's over there.
It's over
The
there.
sun. Oh, the sun. Yeah,
Dark in the
definitely
room.
over there.
I'm in and out. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Chemo. I listened to your show again today. Getting more into your show, by the way. Just getting the content quality is going up. Just need to sort the sound out a little bit.
Right. Well, it's just getting them to answer questions. As you saw, he just wouldn't give us his experiment with the independent variable. He was more of the opinion that this photograph proves another photograph, or an observation proves another observation. So they're completely lost and confused when it comes to actual science. Because I heard you speak with Highlander here about the method early before in the pre-show, and yeah, they're just completely lost when it comes to the first step. The very first step for me would
That
have
was
been
Mr. Kirby, by the way.
would have been an observation there, Highlander. So you would see a phenomena in nature, which raises a question, and then you would go on from there. So that's something that they need to actually look into, because they're getting confused with this many different methods. Because if you ask them to use one of those methods, they don't know where to begin.
I mean, at one point, one guy was kind of... I had to laugh because I'm kind of thinking, could that stand? Because he's basically giving the independent variable as the sun and the dependent variable as a shadow. Now, obviously he's not trying to prove if sun then shadow, but that's what he's formulated. And it's like, that's science, Chemo, that's science. And I'm like, yeah, that proves nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could have just, stopped immediately, but you've got to hear. People just won't believe it if you don't let them say it. Then you just wouldn't believe it if you didn't hear it. You just wouldn't believe if I said to you, this guy thinks an observation proves another observation. You would, not you, but yeah, you and just others would be like, no, that can't be.
You had him. You completely had him to task on it though, Chemo, because you're like straight to the ice wall. Which when somebody's doing it to contrast someone else's, it's basically give the exact parallel of what they've just done, and you did it with the ice wall. You're like, okay, so if I show you a picture of the ice wall and go, my hypothesis is if ice wall, then picture of ice wall is dependent variable, therefore ice wall proven. And they're all like, no, it can't work like that when you're doing it.
Right, it was crazy. But it's just what they, I mean, they could go through it right now. I mean, Highlander, if he was actually to go into how he would use science, he would probably do something similar. He would say, I've got an observation, and you have another observation, and this explains. And I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I mean, now he's recognised how, it would go. He probably wouldn't say that, but if he was pressed, he would probably say, look, there's the observation. It proves this observation. And just simply no testing, no experiment. I mean, I even asked Brummy, the guy there that was speaking, for the definition of experiment, because it just seemed like he didn't realise what he was saying. Just experiment. So,
you did get it, though. Somebody did whip out a definition that included the word hypothesis. So they didn't do too badly in that regard. Somebody did define experiment at some stage, and it wasn't terrible.
It, posted it in the chat.
But immediately you pounced all over it, and you're like, well, you kept calling the guy Brummy, but where's Brummy's hypothesis? And obviously he hasn't got one. The guy wouldn't have a vaguest clue what a hypothesis was. But nevertheless, he hadn't got one, and the definition included that word, which you pounced all over. And I'm like, as I said in the pre-show, in the early days, when we started talking about the scientific method in the broad terms that it's covered in this arena, because everyone's claiming science on the globe side, we described you, Spurs, as a kid with a chainsaw, because you'd heard the power of this argument when they're all saying science proves the globe, but you'd picked up the chainsaw, and kid with a chainsaw, meaning that you haven't got the strength in your arms to chop down a tree yet. So you're kind of in danger of chopping your own leg off. Whereas that was that's a long time ago. I'm not demeaning you. Whereas now, and I said this in the pre-show, you're schooling them. You know what you're talking about, and you're very patient. Everyone's ad homming you left and right and changing the subject. You just wait for them to run out of steam and then just go straight back onto the subject again. It's epic.
Yep, trained, muscled up lumberjack.
Just for clarity. Sorry, Spurs. Just for clarity. So Spurs is very much adept at this subject now. I'm not in any way demeaning him. He's not like about to chop his leg off. He's a skilled lumberjack, just for analogy's sake.
Yeah, because of the diversions they constantly do, you've just got to stay on point, really, and just ask the question again that you've asked. And then he finally got to it after about 3 or 4 times. I said, why did you fail to give an experiment for your hypothesis? And then it just went, downhill from there. But it's just making them recognize that how they're doing their thing. That's why, I mean, I know you don't like me to beg the question sometimes with them, with the space and that kind of thing, but in order for them to see their own errors, kind of like you said when I said, look, picture ice wall means water's contained. That proves that. So when they see how ridiculous that sounds, he had to, backtrack a little bit and say, well, okay, we've just got people who we know we can trust. So that's what it boiled down to. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good job, Spurs. And it's not the first time. So, like I say, I'll give you a quick plug. So, subscribe today to Under No Pressure. That's the name of the YouTube channel, which is run by Spurs Chemo. So check him out. Be Here or Be Sphere. Under No Pressure.
Thank you.
And that channel name used to be very triggering one time when you were arguing for a very silly thing back in the day, Spurs Chemo.
Silly at all. He had an argument. I was more than everyone else got triggered, and everyone was moaning at me, going, "Oh, when are you going to ban him?" I'm like, "Why? He's got an argument."
Don't start him up again.
I'm not trying to. I'm just saying.
It kind of makes sense now.
I had to poke it. Sorry.
Just in terms of real pressure. So, ball earthers, are they under pressure? Are flat earthers under pressure? And I think that's a message to flat earthers that, look, we're not under any pressure. We've got the truth. We just have to remain vigilant, calm, cool, and collective. And they will literally crumble. I mean, Highlander was just a great example right now, who just crumbled, Nathan, under your feet. Right? You asked him, "What is the first step?" And
keep talking.
He's like,
Jeez,
no. Right?
What's up? What?
So,
Hold on.
Stop interrupting me, interrupting him.
What's up?
Chocolate was trying to say something to Spurs, and Spurs was under no pressure and kept talking.
Go on, Chocolate. Ask your question.
No, it wasn't a question. I was just telling him that's how I see that title now, Under No Pressure. Like, you go in there and you're just like asking them simple questions, and all I hear is them losing their shit. It's hilarious.
And ironically, though, the way Spurs Chemo also talks, it's almost like a bagpipe. Not saying it's ugly, but like when he gets going, he really has to keep on. He just always keeps on going until the bag is empty.
Now that Chocolate's reiterated
That was great.
Just
What
one
a
second.
compliment, Spurs.
Well, it is a big compliment, and that's why I was just about to say. Can you reiterate that your the same exact point again that's been reiterated by Chocolate? Maybe expand on it a bit. Expand, boom, boom.
Me?
Yeah, you. Under no pressure, because you want the sentiment that flat earthers are under no pressure. The earth is obviously and observably flat would be the sentiment that I tried to put across in the same vein. I'm just trying to get you to expand on it, Spurs. Put the flat earthers at ease.
Right. So, because
but Spurs, before you go there, I was just going to say it's a great title, because when you go to the ballers, you are actually addressing how they inflate everything, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Oh boy! All right, go on, Spurs. You missed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a message to the flat earthers, to us all, really. We have no reason to kind of mimic or mirror them in any way. They get frustrated because they don't have the truth, and they're trying to calculate the answer immediately. So the way I see it is just we go in there, we know what to expect, and you just ask the question: how do you prove this? I mean, they keep bringing up gravity now, and it's like, as soon as they mention it, what's gravity? Well, look, let's not go there. Well, hold on, what is gravity? Well, it's a force. It's not a, so just asking simple questions and staying calm, really.
It's frustrating. That question is very frustrating for them, isn't it? What's gravity? Simple as it is, it's very frustrating, right? But why would it be so frustrating if it was so simple?
There's actually a part of that question that's keeping them down.
Yeah, it should be just as simple as force, mass attracts mass. It should be as simple as we can experiment with that. It's not as simple as that. So they are really under pressure, whereas the flat earthers are under no pressure as far as I can. What pressure are we in?
Very true. However,
They're under pressure. They're in a container.
A skilled debater from the globe side will be capable of putting a flat earther under pressure. And I'm going to give my stress-beating tip to all flat earthers who find themselves debating this subject. It is not on you to justify their claims. And I'm going to expand on that as follows. If there is a positive assertion being made, for example, that the sky is a vacuum, you don't have to justify what the sky is. You're not the claimant. It's up to you to challenge that which is being claimed. If you want to offer a rebuttal in regards to what's being claimed, that doesn't necessarily involve you offering an alternative just so story in regards to the dome, as an example. So when they challenge you to say, well, what is the sky? Don't be put under pressure to answer a question that you don't have to answer in order to challenge a claim that's outstanding. So just to summarise, the outstanding claim in my example would be that the sky is a vacuum. Now, upon debunking that nonsense with the second law of thermodynamics, without the container there can be no pressure, you don't then have to fall into the trap of debating what your opinion, which is all it'll be, of the sky actually is. You don't have to provide a just so story to pummel the living daylights out of their nonsense just so stories about things like the sky being a vacuum, which it's not. Hope that relieves some pressure.
Another thing as well, I think, is we were not prepared for this. We were not ready for liars of this magnitude, right? So when you're speaking to somebody, you expect a somewhat honest conversation. So I think so I can understand the frustration on our side. I can understand how we just want to, completely lose the plot because, again, there's no training, there's no preparation for speaking to people who are just going to outright obfuscate what you're trying to say. So I think, over the years, we've kind of, we've grown, we've improved the argument. So I think we do, I think, any person coming into this facing a ball earther will face, obstruction, obfuscation, ad homs, ridicule, mockery. And I think it's like you do need some kind of training to prepare your mind for what's to come. So I think that's probably a reason why a lot of people do lose their cool, which is, again, completely understandable because we were not ready for, this kind of opposition, right?
I had a response from Ute. So Ute says, Spurs, the problem is they enjoy lying to us because they view us as trolls and scammers.
Yes and no, but like I said, on our side, we were not ready for this. I mean, when I entered, I thought we were just going to go into. I thought I was going to come into this, ask the opposition, prove the globe. They would prove it. We'd move on. I didn't think we'd get the song and dance. So it's just figuring out the characteristics of a globe earther, and just handling it really, managing it really. I think that's why we're not seeing a lot more flat earthers debate because of that, because of the aggression on the other side. So it's managing.
I think I know what you're trying to say, Spurs, but I kind of disagree.
Okay.
I think what it does, it reveals the character of people more so than arguments that are valid or invalid. Character of people comes out on tough subjects like this, that there is all kinds of emotions involved. Because as we've said, if the Earth is not a globe, what is their fear? What are they afraid of? Why is it so hard for them to relinquish a lie? It's the consequences. And for each person that differs. But it would invoke, as we've always said, there needs to be a creator. And if there is a creator, then atheism and all these other things have to go out the window. So there's more to this than meets the eye.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, what we're doing, I think, again, we're analysing the globe earther. You just looked at the globe earther. You yourself, you're looking at the globe earther. I mean, I'm talking about our side, us. when we face globe opposition, how we handle that can be different, right? And I think, like I say, we're not ready. We were not ready. We were not prepared for that level. I mean, we spoke to people who, we've been through the conspiracies you may or may not have, where they kind of, dance around. But this is blatant because it's everywhere. Like the Earth is right in front of. It's not like another conspiracy where it's out of your reach. The Earth, you're standing on it. So
I
just
guess
think
I'm
from our
having
side, it's just
trouble
preparation.
understanding what you mean, not ready. I came into this ready. I came into this knowing that most of the world, I mean, even before I found Nathan's show and his tagline, 99% of the world thinks the world is heliocentric. I kind of already knew that because that's everybody. And I already had skirmishes with people prior to coming on the show and learning the much more refined arguments. But I was ready to take on the controversy, and I didn't mind it. I knew it would be. So I don't know what you mean, not ready.
I wasn't. No, I was nowhere near ready to, to hear the outright lie, blatant, in-your-face, outrageous lies, made-up fantasy. So we're not talking like a conspiracy where, you may see it on the video, or this is something that's literally made up. The numbers are made up. So you've got to challenge a made up something that doesn't exist. You have to challenge that. So we weren't ready for that. We thought we were challenging something that was maybe possible, could be true, if there's enough proof for it. That's not the case.
Yeah, see, I never came from that because my science teacher in grade school told me, I don't even believe it, but I got to teach it. And I said, well, if they're teaching crap, then I don't believe it either. So I've never believed the status quo.
Shout out to Cleary, who says, globe heads are office skaters? I don't know what that means, but thank you very much indeed for the super chat. An office skater. Anybody? No? Thank you for the super chat, Cleary.
Play on obfuscator and somebody who skates in the office?
It's the skater in the office bit. Office skaters. Okay. Thank you again,
But
Cleary.
do you know the interesting thing though, Nate? 10th man. While we're in the midst of the discussion, I think the ball earthers are ready, or at least the ones who have been in the discussion. But in their mind, they want to see what's next. They want to see where are we going to take this. I mean,
that's projection. Not where we're going, where they're going. So they're on a path. They are going through the 5 stages of loss, and their projection that they want to see what we'll do next. There's nothing for us to do any next. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. What more is there to do? Well, we can keep exposing the pretender clown liars, but in terms of the nature of our existence, what we observe, how it is what it is, right? There is no R value, there is no radius value. It's all only existing in the maths, never to be seen, never to be measured. All of those things have come to surface after we realised the obvious nature of our existence anyway. So we've got more detail in terms of how it's not a sphere, i.e. they've assumed a radius value, begged the question, never measured it because they can't ever see it. But without that detail, would it change anything in terms of where we go from here? Well, where we go is only relevant to them because they're projecting their path onto us. Well, their path is one of depression if they get past the bargaining stage, which is what we deal with. So once you get past the bargaining stage, depression, then acceptance. Well, most of them don't want to go to the depression stage, so they regress to anger or denial.
Not that I agree, but I agree with the idea of what is next, because usually people protest. Now, I'm not saying we should go out and protest no gravity, no globe, something like this, but we've been lied to. We want justice. No, don't we want things to be right? Have the wrong put right. So to
right. You're doing your flat Earth evangelism again. Why does it concern you what next man thinks in terms of his religious worldview? If we were in the 1700s and you happen to be in a heavily Christian area and that was just accepted as the rhetoric of of how it is. That's the way the world is. Even though clearly now we define that as a religious belief, well, now we don't define the current religion as a religious belief like they didn't in the 1700s. Well, do you want to be that evangelist that goes around telling people, well, did you not appreciate that it's actually just a religion? Well, they're entitled to that, aren't they? Why do you want... What is it with you in this flat earth evangelism? You've appreciated it, and when you did, the world didn't unfold. It remained exactly as it was. You just had your eyes opened to a load of nonsense and models that men had given you.
Okay, so, again, I'm just trying to think how to phrase... Sorry, you're not finished. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was.
Ah, okay, so... Again, I'm just trying to think how to phrase. So, what exactly then are we doing? What is... And again, when I say we, I know when I say kind of... I'm saying loosely. So I don't just mean... I'm not saying we're like a group of people. I'm just saying if there's a lie in the world, a religious idea, that's controlling the system, why are we even bothering? Why don't we just let the globe earthers be globe earthers? Why would we tell them that they've been lied to?
Because it's not your place. Because it's not you.
You're doing it again.
Because you can do... Hold on. You can do whatever you want to, Spurs. But as for you... You're on the path to tyranny. You know what I mean? Why can't they express their beliefs in their worldview of a globe? Well, because you're not them, and who are you to tell them what to believe in? Now, you can point out where it doesn't make sense. I do it all day long. But I'm not going to, when they leave...
No, but I'm saying that why not just leave them to it? So I'm not saying that you should leave them to it, but I'm saying that something in you has said, I've got to expose this lie. I've got to tell these people that their religion, their belief is not true. But why? Why even bother? Why not just say, okay, you've got a religion, you believe in goblins, fairies, live your life.
Why for me? Because it had a massive impact on my life, and I think it's an absolutely fascinating subject matter. No other reason. I want to be a YouTuber, and I've got a great subject matter. What more could I want? I am up with my feet up, reactively dealing with fundies who come here with their religious rhetoric. Absolutely awesome. I couldn't be happier. I'm made up, mate. I couldn't be happier. But do I want to tell them that they must understand the nature of reality as I now understand it? No. Do what you like. I don't care. Go in peace.
Last point before this gets wild. So, you say things like, we've won. We've defeated the Ball Earthers. We've done it. We've shown that they have no religion. So you bring in the we aspect, like we've done something here. And then you'll say, well, no, it's I. So what, like I say, what is the point of, having a community, building something to shut something down for what? Why would we shut down?
Hold on, shut something down. Belief? Hold on. No.
Yeah.
When we say we have won, I mean, collectively, this panel and the people who've come here to discuss the subject matter have reached conclusions that cannot be undone. The heliocentric model is untenable. There is no geometric horizon. It can't be seen. It only exists in the maths, etc., etc., etc. Well, all of this stuff has been exposed by a we, us, here, right now. But does that mean that I'm referring to a flat earth we and a globe earth cult that needs taking down? Well, no. I mean, if my show leads somebody who is definitely already at step 3 in this process anyway, they're already at the bargaining stage. In other words, I'm not a street activist. I'm not one of those people. Now, I'm not decrying those people who go out there and proactively tell the world about this. More power to them. But I don't want to do that. I don't. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, that was it, basically.
You do. You're an evangelist for this subject, is my point.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. They're on perfect timing. Got them on screen. 5 stages of loss. Like I say, people who are here are already at the bargaining stage. And do they want to take the next step to depression? Oh no, I'm not really on a flying ball flying through a vacuum. Well, they've got to go through that stage to get to acceptance and then move on with their lives. But am I going to be the one that pushes them there? No, I'm not going to push anybody into depression. I might have a good laugh when they take a step back into anger and total denial, often in front of our eyes. It's very amusing. Makes for a great show, right? That's what I'm here for. I've never denied it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
If I let
think,
go of the spinning
I know
ball,
what's-
can I at least hold on to some ball shape?
You can hold on to whatever you like.
That's my bargaining. I'm at the bargaining stage. So how's it going, everybody? Good to be here on the Flat Earth Debates with Nathan Oakley. Fantastic. You know, in 6 weeks, it's going to be Flat Earth Debate 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so
I'll try and set my alarm for that one. I'll be here for that one. So how are things been, everybody? Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here. How are things, Nathan?
Very well. I've been enjoying your content. Hopefully you won't get me shut down with anything controversial or too controversial.
Well, actually, I had a funny thing that I wanted to say here, and then I thought, no, if I do say that, like, you probably don't cover those topics here. And then I was like, because I think they're doing AI checking now, man. I think there's like, don't quote me, I don't know if this is definitely true, but I suspect they're using computers to listen to what we're saying, and then if we say the wrong keywords, bang, we're done. I honestly think that might be happening.
Yeah, they told us so. So at the start of the COVID...
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it was on a banner for the channel. So I logged in one day and it explained, just before COVID hit, coincidentally, that... where was it? It wasn't in the UK, it was somewhere else. Anyway, the point is that they explained that they'd have limited actual people to verify whether or not your video was legit. And how did they explain it? It's quite a few months ago now, so I'm trying to rack my brains for how the phraseology was.
I got that message as well. They were saying that because of COVID, they've got less manpower, so they're doing less human checks. I saw that message as well.
Exactly.
But I just have this funny feeling. So I was going to ask you, I won't say the words. I was going to ask you, do BL letter, but the actual words I was going to say, on the flat earth. I thought that was very amusing. And then I was like, nah, but what if he never talks about that topic here? And what if that could get him flagged? It's not worth it. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Do you still cover the controversial topics, Nathan? Apart from flat earth, you still cover the other
Why
stuff?
would we talk about that here?
I don't understand what you're asking. Just be
No,
blunt.
you don't
I
want
don't
it.
mind
It's
if it's
politics
something...
shit.
No, we tend not to. On the pre-show we do, mainly because it goes out on the second channel, so if that gets shut down as a result of somebody's loose lips, then that's fair enough, but not on the live show typically. But I didn't understand your question anyway. You used initials and
I'll save it for the backup. I'll save it for after then. I don't want to risk
No,
anything
I'm
on
saying
someone else's
don't.
channel.
Just ask. Just be blunt. Just ask me. Just don't use code.
Okay. Well, I've kind of ruined it now, but I was going to ask you, do Black Lives Matter on the flat earth? But in retrospect, it's probably more funny to me than to anybody else.
I don't see as in any way going to get me shut down.
How many of the people here were here, like, you know how there's like, I don't know, 50 or 100, 200 people watching. How many of them were here for the trees? What was that? Remember that thing that Dirth did with the fake Russian? What was that called?
I've got
Giant
one
trees.
of the top videos on that. So the trees thing, I was one of the people standing in opposition to it. So I went on a panel with a whole bunch of different people who were all in favour of the no trees thing. And there might have been one other guy on a panel of about 11 people that was also in opposition to it, but I was one of the only people in opposition to it.
Well, credit to you for that. Do people still talk about that? Or has that just disappeared now?
It's just disappeared. It wasn't the first time it had come around anyway. When it came for us, it was the second resurgence of it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, it's not the first time.
So Dirth, you're saying that Dirth stole it? Basically, Dirth stole it, repackaged it.
No, not Dirth, not at all. Some dude with no subscribers.
It was him, wasn't it? Wasn't he the one that got the fake Russian to do a fake Russian accent? Wasn't that him? Or am I confusing him with somebody?
No, I mean, he might have mirrored it, but that wasn't him. Obviously not.
Ah, okay.
That's Small Potatoes. Dirth runs the whole show. Didn't you know that?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that. There you go.
Too much.
So is Patricia Steer back? Because I heard that she was back. But like, is she back in Flat Earth, or is she still nowhere near?
She
does
occasionally
YouTube,
mentions it.
not
She's under.
specifically Flat Earth.
Go on, Owen. Go ahead.
She still has a YouTube channel, does shows on Tuesday, I think, or was it Wednesday? Sorry. Wednesday, I think. But not specifically about Flat Earth, just whatever. She's not excluding it either.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good philosophy, I think. Be open, but don't. Yeah, that's cool. Well, is there any other new? I didn't mean to come and interrupt by the way, guys. I'm just curious because I haven't really. I sort of drop in and out of different subcultures. So the Flat Earth one, I don't really follow very closely. Is there any other big news over the last couple of months?
Yes, Black Swan. The Earth is flat.
Oh, I was here for. I did kind of hear about that.
You
know, the last time I was
so
hanging out with you guys, it was a really good time because Eddie Bravo had just given Nathan Oakley. Has he done that again since then, Nathan? Have you got any more shout outs from?
So you were having a dabble back in January when the Black Swan first hit, so you're aware of that argument.
Well, I remember. Okay, so here's what I think you guys are saying. It was about footage of something that you could see in the distance, like was it an oil rig or something? And
No.
you could see it from too far away. Is that right? Something like this?
No. So
No?
basically, the way the argument breaks down, it's a logical basis for the argument, modus tollens. So if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's just basically based on the geometry they assert if Earth is a sphere. So the observation with the oil rigs that you were describing, the oil rigs just give you the distances. So they demarcate how far the horizon is. Obviously, if the horizon's beyond the second oil rig, which is about 9.5 miles, then you can say the horizon's beyond 9.5 miles. Well, in the heliocentric model, they have a geometric sphere edge, i.e. a physical edge. The thing they argue on non-stop about, whether or not it bends, well, that's a physical sphere edge, a geometric horizon. Well, as a consequence of that argument, they've had to relinquish their physical geometric sphere edge, the thing that used to block boats and buildings, and tell us that it only exists in the maths, and we don't have a geometric horizon. That's their rebuttal. In other words, it's game over for the geometric model because they require geometry, i.e. a tangent point or physical sphere edge to do the geometry with, and they've had to relinquish it in rebuttal to this argument. So it's a pretty big deal.
There's too many maths and words in there for me. I'll just trust whatever you're saying. Sounds
Fair
pretty
enough.
convincing. I think the geometrists have been defeated once again. And thank God for that. I've had enough of
Indeed.
those people.
Yeah, I don't need to.
So what else has been going on then? What else has been going on the flat Earth?
As a result of your
There must be
recommendation?
big news. It's been like 5 months since I spoke to you. There must be something going on other than just
I've been recommending
any
one of the
big
channels.
banners, any big advertisements on the side of freeways and
Then
stuff.
maybe I'll
That's
get to
always
tell
cool.
you eventually. Maybe you can ask 5 more times.
I'm only marking around, man. I saw you guys doing this because I'm still subscribed to you. So I go to my subscriptions and then I see you on sometimes. So like, I'll just pop in and have a listen and have a chat. If you had 10 people here and it was hectic, I wouldn't have even jumped on. But I was like, oh, they sound like they're a little bit. They've got a little bit of free time. I might just pop in and say hello. It's always nice to do that.
Good timing. It's nice and calm.
But yeah, because it is a flat Earth debate. Like, really, Nathan, I want your opinion on all this nonsense that's happening in the world, but I don't want to ruin your flat Earth show. So if you do another live stream that's just like open chat, I want to get your opinion on all this stuff that's happening. Dude, this is a crazy. This year has been so crazy, don't you think? I did not see this coming, honestly. All of this nonsense, and it just gets worse.
Well, you've been. Are you still in Kuala Lumpur, or are you somewhere else now?
Yeah, I'm still here, bro. I'm still here.
So obviously, being in a lockdown
I'm
in
still
Kuala Lumpur is
here.
going to be.
Oh, dude, it's hectic, man. And by hectic, I mean there's nothing happening. There's nothing to do. And the first few months were like, it was entertaining. It was exciting because like none of us knew what was happening, and the whole world seemed like it was coming to a sudden end. And every day was exciting. Whereas now it's like, hold on, man. I'm in a city where I don't know anybody, and I have nothing to do other than sit on a computer. And it's like, I'm just starting to get over it, dude. I'm just starting to get over it. So,
Has it been beneficial though? 100 videos this year.
Oh, dude, the last few months have been better for my website in all terms of metrics than ever before. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, like I'm not complaining about that side. But I think it's also been kind of good for me just to sort of test my mental state. Like if you go, what's it now, 4 months I've been here, 4 months without knowing a single person and just sort of really having to, like if I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to anybody. If I'm not talking to my computer, to my microphone, I'm talking to nobody. So 4 months of like almost silence or whatever. It's just been good to sort of have to spend some time by myself, if you know what I mean. So like I'm looking at the upside of it, but that's really me trying to look at the upside of it. The reality is, man, this is a crazy way to be. How about you? I'm just trying to think. What city are you in? You're not in London, are you? What city are you in?
I'm in a town called Leamington Spa, middle of the country.
What's it like there? Have people gone nuts?
Not especially. I mean, all of the public bits have been shut down. So other than that, I haven't done anything greatly different other than I can't use the public parks or public pools or public anything because it's all shut. But
did they put sticky tape and warning signs all over the parks?
No, I mean, well, they just tape them off. But like I said, other than that, life doesn't change a great deal. But I don't necessarily rely a great deal on the publicly owned bits, if you will, or the government owned bits, whatever you want to call them. Whereas you're actually cabin fever trapped there, right? You're actually locked down, unlike anybody else.
Well, we were, yeah, for like 6 weeks. There were I couldn't go to a cafe. Normally I like to take my laptop to a cafe and do my work there, but for 6 weeks there was nothing open. It was seriously just shut down. It was crazy, man. Whereas now it is opening up again. You can go to cafes and stuff. But even then, people still aren't having events. So normally if you're traveling around, you like to look on the internet, where's a meetup, where's this, where's that, to go and meet people. But that still hasn't come back yet. So there's still no way for a foreigner to meet. There's still no easy way the way it used to be for a foreigner to meet people. So it's, even though things are opening up, it's still a very lonely. You arrive in a city and it gets shut down. It's like, all right, well, this is not good news for me, is it? Because it's, how do you meet people? It's crazy.
I think you had the right attitude from the off, though, because I think I remember vaguely a video you putting out when the Australian government called for everyone to come home, and you were like...
That was when the funny thing is, that was when I was still in Thailand. So that would have been February, when the Australian government, the Prime Minister was like, everyone should come home. I can't remember his exact words, but yeah, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And the funny thing, check this out. In Australia, they've doubled the welfare payment. So if you're unemployed, you can claim what we call the dole. I don't know what it's officially called. I think they call it job seeker or something, but it's just called a dole, just money you get for not having a job, right? And they doubled that. So now in Australia, don't quote me on this, but I spoke to someone and they were telling me it's about, don't quote me, it's about $1,400 per fortnight. So close to $3,000 a month. Now, Australian dollars aren't worth as much as American dollars or pounds, but that's a lot of money for doing nothing. So there's all these people in Australia. And also, too, you don't have to go to the office to claim it. So normally if you're on job, whatever it's called, you've got to go to this office once every 2 weeks and fill in some forms, and they make you sit on a computer and pretend you're looking for jobs for like an hour or something like this. Now they're not even doing that because the Senate, the welfare offices are all closed. So it's like $3,000 a month for doing nothing. And there are people who are loving this shit. Yeah. They don't want this to end, even if they know it's all bullshit. They're happy collecting the cash. And then check this out. I'm from Victoria. I'm from Melbourne. Melbourne is in Victoria, big city. Melbourne's a huge city. Melbourne is in Victoria. The Victorian Premier, the Premier is like a governor for Americans. It's like, he's a guy in charge of the state. I'm not even making this up. A couple of days ago, he says, if you come down with coronavirus, we'll give you $1,500. So if you test positive I'm not making this up, guys, look it up. If you test positive to coronavirus in Victoria, you get $1,500, which is more than most people earn in a week. You get more than a week's wage. For some people, that's almost 2 weeks' wage, just for testing positive. Yeah, seriously, I'm not making this up. Can you believe that?
Wants to get sick, though.
So I want to go back, and so the point of my story, Nathan, is if I could go back to me in February and say, hey, listen, bro, I know you don't want to go back to Australia, but soon they're going to give free money to everybody. Just go. Just go and save up.
No,
and then if they ever open up the airports again,
hold on.
then you can...
Hold on. That's not free money. You've got to actually be sick to get money.
No, if you test positive, I mean, you can test positive to the so-called... Hold on, I better be careful here. You guys do all understand. I won't use the H word, but you guys do all understand that coronavirus is in fact a H. You guys do know that, right?
No, I don't believe that coronavirus is a hoax. Hold on 1 second there. I'll just do a quick shout out to Al Junkie, who says, baller, bad arguer, lamey liar, erratic Rita Road. I don't understand your super chat, but I really do appreciate it anyway. So are you under the impression that there is not any such virus? Is that what you're under the impression of?
I don't even believe in any viruses anymore, to be honest. Not like physical pathogens, right? There are mind viruses, obviously, but in terms of like an actual thing that's in your body, and it's kind of alive, but it's kind of dead, and it can kind of spread in the air, but it kind of can't, all this kind of stuff, I don't believe in that at all anymore. No.
Fair enough. As I say,
mind virus like the globe.
Beliefs.
I didn't catch that. Two people were speaking.
Then everyone's entitled to their
same as what
beliefs.
you were saying before, Nathan. But before you were making this point that if people do want to believe in the globe, you're not going to try and change their mind. That's how I feel about viruses. So if you or anybody else does believe in them, that's cool. Like that, maybe they do exist. I'm still open-minded, but I realized I've got no evidence that that's the case. Zero. And I was like, shit, if I've got no evidence for that, then why do I still believe it? Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But yeah, man, if you say to me, hey, listen, bro, take this test, because now they're doing saliva tests too. It's not even a nasal swab. It's like, hey, take this saliva test. And if it comes back positive, you get $1,500. I'd be like, give me the test. Test comes back negative. I'm like, give me another one. Let's try again. Could have been a false negative. You know what I mean? Let's try again. Let's just give me as many tests as you got. We'll just try this as many times as we can until we hit the jackpot, baby. $1,500 for doing nothing. Goodness gracious.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you tie this into all of the headlines prior to all this about universal base income?
Well, I do think that is part of the agenda, man. I do think eventually it'll be like the social credit system where, like, some people will have jobs, but a lot of people, I mean, most jobs these days are already complete bullcrap. Like, most office jobs these days, not all of them, but most of them are make work, okay? People aren't doing 40 hours of real work per week, not even close, man. Like, a lot of what people do at work is just make work, and I think, this is just my opinion, I think they're slowly transitioning the people to what you could call UBI. I do believe that is happening, yeah. And I do think this is part of it, yeah.
Yeah. But
and I'm not even against it. Right? I'm not even really against it, to be honest.
You're saying that if you take a test, you get 1,500, and if you're unemployed, you get 1,400 every 2 weeks. So it's just conditioning people to, hey, I'm making more money on unemployment than when I was working.
Hey, but
yeah, and then imagine if you're trying to run a small business, right? Like you're trying to run a cafe or a restaurant or something. You want to employ staff, but it's a low level employment, so it's kind of like menial work here. So it's a low level pay. How can a small business owner compete now with the government, the dole, the welfare? Like not only is this giving free money to people to do nothing, but it's also hurting small business. So that they've shut down the small business.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to shout out Retro Bill. Enjoying a nice, relaxed FE debate today. A big hello to the panel. So thank you very much indeed to Retro Bill for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
I'll stay on the dole. So it's all destroying small business.
Hold on, John. No, that's not true, mate. The government also brought in a payment for people grossing less than $1,075 a fortnight. Anyone grossing that amount or less would also receive a payment of $550 a fortnight as a supplement. So
you mean if they're earning small amounts at a cafe or restaurant, something like that?
Yeah, people on lower incomes are getting that supplement as well. So
yeah, I see your point.
Yeah, and it will end, of course, in a few months' time. So it's a short-term thing, and it's keeping retail expenditure at a high, because most of these people on,
meanwhile, the Earth is obviously and observably flat. With that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's debate possible, and of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. I say, if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!